what's crack-a-lack and literary geeks? Happy Tuesday. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little bit sick. So the theme of today's video is nasal. I've done an awful lot of videos on this channel and my own channel talking about things that you shouldn't do. I'm like, don't write this character, they're boring. Don't write this storyline, it's overdone. This whole genre is problematic. But I'm not over here offering you suggestions on how to fix it, and unfortunately I'm technically not doing that in today's video either. However, I'm gonna put a positive spin on an old complaint, and today we're going to talk about books that do tropes right. Tropes are the themes or events that happen over and over and over in a particular genre based on the genre's expectations and limits. A lot of people write tropes because they're easy and they're expected to a degree. A lot of people try to avoid tropes because they're overdone or easily predictable. A lot of people don't like tropes because they're usually not very realistic, or they're bored after reading the same chosen one narrative in 8 fantasy books in a row and then deciding to switch over to romance and getting insta-love another 18 times. However, I read a book recently that had one of these big tropes in it that I thought handled it so well. So in today's video, I want to talk about a bunch of books that subvert expectations and do tropes right. The first trope I want to talk about is insta-love, where two characters meet and then 2 pages later they're declaring their undying love and then they're married by page 12. And I'm like, y'all are in high school, you don't even know what your mom is making you for dinner. Like, calm the hell down. I find this trope usually happens when a writer doesn't know how to make their characters like each other, but they still want them to be the love pairing, so they're just like, they just instantly fall in love with each other because they're both so attractive and destiny and magic and all that, which does not work. You can have chemistry when you first meet somebody, but for sure you're not going to be, you know, declaring your undying love within like a paragraph and a half. At least I hope you're not, because that's probably not healthy. However, the book that I recently read did this trope right, and that is The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper. This is about Cal, who lives in New York and has an online following being a journalist, and when his father gets a job on NASA's newest mission to Mars, he and his family have to move across the country and live with a bunch of the other astronauts on the NASA base. When he's there, he meets Leon, who is the son of another one of the astronauts, and they begin to fall in love. I was worried at the very beginning when I first started reading this because Cal does see a picture of Leon and instantly starts crushing. And I was like, oh no, how is this gonna go? It's gonna go one of 2 ways. Either they're gonna fall in love instantly because it's adorable, contemporary, and I'm gonna feel sick, or he's just gonna get dumped immediately, and I'm gonna have a whole lot of secondhand embarrassment. Like, I don't understand how this is gonna work out in a good way, but it did! Leon finds Cal attractive too, but the way that they talk about their feelings, wow, what a concept! Go over what they're expecting in a relationship with one another is so well done and very realistic. Honestly, I don't think that this is too outside the box. After a close encounter of them like maybe kissing, I think Leon is like, hey, this is going too fast and I don't want to do that unless I know that I'm actually like involved with you and that I actually like you as a person. And Cal's like, you know what, that's fair. Okay, let's move slowly. And then they do, so they both are like, hey, we think each other are cute, but like, we're not ready to dive in yet. And it was mature, but it was realistic, but it's still something that maybe teenagers would do. I loved this whole insta-love trope. Phil Stamper did it so well. Please pick up this book, it just came out. Very similar to the insta-love is the love triangle. How could I get through a trope video without mentioning this? And I'm pretty sure you know which one that I'm gonna say, but you know, just ignore that. Pretend you're surprised. Oh wow! Clockwork Angel, The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I never would have guessed this has a bangin' love triangle. Not actually. Oh, that was a bad word choice. Jem and Will and Tessa. And Jem and Will are Parvati, best friends, blood brothers, fighters till the end, and then Tessa comes in and is like, but they're both really cute though, and then both of them are like, oh damn, she's real cute though. And in most cases, I would be like, girl, pick a side. Don't be like that, okay? Don't be stringing along some dude because you're not sure if the other one's gonna work out. That's rude. But in this scenario, like, it works. And the reason that it works is because there is so much mutual love and respect for everybody involved. And like, yeah, someone dies at the end, but like, it works itself out eventually, like a couple hundred years later. Just don't worry about it. Like, these characters sort of talk to each other about it, but not really, like, enough for conflict. But eventually they do, because they both realize that they all want the other person to be happy, and that love and respect for the friends, not necessarily just the romantic partners, is just so well done, and you really feel it, and it hits you hard. So instead of this being like a sappy, like, I'm gonna fight to the death for the affection of this girl. You have the, like, I want you to be happy, and if you two are happy together, then I guess I'm happy, even though I'm kind of sad. But, like, you're worth it to me, and it's like, oh my god, my heart, that's just so wonderful. Another huge trope that is so hard to avoid that I know a lot of writers ask about is the info dump. Info dumping occurs usually at the very beginning of the book or the chapter, where the author doesn't quite know how to explain the rules of the world, so, here, have them. Clunky, it slows down the pacing, and for the majority of the time, your reader doesn't need to know all of this right away. However, I will mention a time when I found the info dumping to not only be appropriate, but well done and fun. And those, wow, what a trio. It's also the only book in all of these scenarios that is not a YA book. So if you are under 18, please do not read this. You're gonna be traumatized. That is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. This is also a controversial opinion because I know some people really like this style and some people really don't, but he put footnotes into this book. The idea with Nevernight is that this is someone telling a story, so it's the author going back and adding in things. So you have little footnotes like this at the bottom, which, I mean, may traumatize some English majors because you're like, oh god, flashbacks to essay writing. But I personally really like it because it adds so much personality, because the narrator who's putting these footnotes in is just sassy and I love him. I think it's a really unique way to add in information without feeling like it's ruining the pace and flow of the story. So the next awful trope is the one that I talked about in my last video, which was how to get your characters to describe themselves, and that is the ubiquitous mirror scene. If you're a writer, you've written one, where a character gets out of bed in the morning, goes to the bathroom mirror, and describes himself in complete and utter detail. This is usually the sign of an amateur writer because there are so many ways to add description in that is not an info dump of information, and also nobody does that. That being said, the one book that I can think of that's also kind of a classic that does this well is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This opens with a mirror scene, and for the most part I would say that's bad. However, in this book it works. See, Triss lives in a society of abnegation where being selfish and self-serving and looking at yourself in the mirror, aka vanity, is considered wrong. So having her be able to look in the mirror and noticing things about herself, noticing how her face has changed over the last however long many months it's been since she last saw herself, as well as that wanting to still see herself, even though that's considered bad by her society standards, shows you more about A, the world, because why is she in a world where you can't look at yourself in the mirror? That's a pretty normal thing to do, right? Also shows that underlying rebellion of not quite fitting into her society, and maybe that she will rebel soon. And she does. The other thing that I feel is more of a movie thing, but sort of a book thing, and that is the makeover scene, where you have the nerdy girl, usually with like frizzy hair and glasses, and then, oh my god, she puts contacts on, like a little bit of lipstick, and then everyone suddenly is like, who is that? While it's fun, this is not really a good trope because, you know, self-esteem issues and diversity and, you know, feeling good in your own body and not having to be, it's just a typical societal body standards and etc. However, I will say the book that does this very well is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. It's one of my favorite contemporaries that takes the Cinderella story but puts it into a Comic-Con scenario, and the prince is actually a movie star who's doing a reboot of a show that's sort of like Star Trek. It's a very funny book overall. Like, Cinderella's pumpkin is a vegan food truck, like, come on! Instead of a grand makeover scene to impress the prince, she enters into a costume contest and basically becomes this one character in this elaborate costume. So yes, while she does get the whole like, oh, who is she type of moment, it's not because, oh, she's suddenly wearing a dress and doesn't have glasses on. It's like, oh damn, that's a nice costume. How many hours did you have to work on that? And lastly is the #1 trope, the all-time OG, and that is the Chosen One. I don't really know what that was, but I feel like Chosen One just like deserves some spirit fingers. Chosen Ones are an easy narrative. A lot of people write them because you don't really need a reason for your character to be good at something. It's just, oh, they're the Chosen One. You're like, oh yeah, okay. And the book that I think does this extremely well is There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. This book has so much talk about chosen ones. The thing about this is that there are 5 main characters and we don't really know who the chosen one is. The way she writes this is so good because you're told up front, this is the chosen one. And you're like, oh, alright, seems legit. And then you follow along with them and 5 other characters, but then as you keep going, you start to question yourself of, is this the chosen one? Would a chosen one really be acting like this? Should a chosen one maybe be acting more like that? And the way that she weaves all these stories together just has you questioning, and it's so great. She goes into how society treats you if you're a chosen one, how your family treats you if you're supposedly the chosen one, how friends can make you the chosen one all along. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, really, I love the way that she writes this story, and I think having that giant cast, basically of all chosen ones, but not really, but sort of. You know what I mean if you read it. Please do. So good. So there you have it. There's a ton of tropes that people think are boring and are overdone and not done well. And there are 6 books to prove you wrong. You are totally welcome to write whatever trope that you want. When I look at all the books on my shelf, like, how many of these main characters were orphans that found out they had some kind of insane magic power? A lot of them. Go out there with your bad self and write all of the tropes that you do or don't like. Leave down below any thoughts on my list, and also leave down below a comment on what your favorite trope is, because like I said, I love me a good orphan boy who finds out that he's from a magical family. That just, it floats my boat. I really love it. Join us on Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube for our live chat, and I will see you all then. Have a good week.